Welcome to Strength for Generations, the go-to podcast for Christian families who want to build strength, restore energy, and deepen connection with God at the center. Hi, I'm Krista Baker, Christian health coach, wife, mom, and co-founder of Baker Family Fitness. Have you tried it all? The diets, the workouts, the supplements, yet still feel stuck? Do you find yourself too drained to connect with your family, lead with purpose, or live out the calling God's placed on your life? Then you're in the right place. I'm here to help you honor God with your health and bring peace back to the process. To simplify what it means to build strength in your body, renew your mind, and care for your spirit, all without losing precious time with your family. Each week, you'll be encouraged by God's Word, inspired by real stories, and equipped with the tools you need to succeed. With trusted experts and conversations that help you grow stronger in body, mind, and spirit. So grab your coffee or your ribeye and let's do this His way. Welcome back to Strength for Generations. I'm your host, Krista Baker, and I am extremely happy to have you here today. We're going to dive into discipline. When people hear the word discipline, they often think it means being strict or forcing themselves to do things that they don't want to do. I always think when I think of the word discipline, it's like drill sergeant, get down and give me 20, or making your bed like super perfect, like tucking all those corners in really tight. But real discipline is actually built in everyday life. It's formed through small choices that are repeatable until they become normal. So today I want to talk about what it actually looks like, how it develops without pressure, and how faith actually will play a really big role in this. I'm also going to share 8 practical ways to build discipline that fit into real life, not a perfect routine. Discipline feels hard when we believe it has to come from willpower. When health feels like something we have to constantly think about or control, it becomes draining. Most people are already disciplined. We show up for our families, we show up for work, we follow through on responsibilities even when we're tired. I mean, I'm just thinking right now, you still show up and serve at church even though you're tired. You're disciplined, you show up and you do it, right? Health becomes challenging when it feels separate from real life instead of part of it. So this is something I had to learn the hard way. There were seasons where I felt like I was doing all the right things, but it still was hard. It still felt heavy. You would start strong and then start to get really overwhelmed and question why I could stay consistent in so many areas of my life, but not with, I had issues with binge eating, why I was so good at showing up in so many other areas, but I struggled being consistent with following through on, let's say, hitting my protein targets or whatever that is, right? I was treating health like it was a project. And instead, I just really needed to implement it as part of my daily life. I was trying to be disciplined through effort instead of just the natural structure of what I was already doing. And once I started anchoring my health into my actual life, not a perfect version of my life, things began to shift. Discipline is built through repetition. You make a choice, you repeat it. Over time, it becomes familiar, and eventually it becomes part of how you live. Let's talk about flossing your teeth. Hopefully you're flossing your teeth. If not, maybe you should also take this as a note. You should probably be flossing your teeth. But when we floss our teeth every day, I don't have to remind myself to do it. I just do it because I'm disciplined to do it. It's just part of my daily routine. Discipline doesn't actually require this level of intensity that I think a lot of people assume they have to. It requires just returning to the same basic action often, which means daily, so often enough that your body and mind recognize them as normal. So it's almost like you get to this place where if you don't do it, it doesn't feel right. Health works the same way. Regular meals, simple movement, time to rest. When these things fit into your real life, discipline develops naturally. Faith is lived out the same way. Through steady obedience, not these big moments. Sure, you're going to have some big moments, but it's the steady, consistent daily actions that, leads to a really faith-filled life. And remember, God doesn't ask us for perfection, but He asks us for that faithfulness. So caring for your body is part of stewardship. It's not a performance. It's just a response to what God has entrusted you to. So here are 8 practical ways to build discipline. Actually, I'm going to go back a second. So I'm thinking about right now is how my husband built this discipline around not having desserts and lots of sugar. And it's not like he was actually having a lot of it, but when he was diagnosed with diabetes, it threw us off because we were like, how is this even possible? We have such great healthy lifestyles. We, eat very well. We work out, we're active. But it was like during, that time in 2020. Well, it was just a little bit after that. And it was about a month before we were going away for almost 8 weeks. We were going south for almost 8 weeks. And it was literally 1 month before us leaving that Mike got this phone call from the doctor, and he was like, okay, we need to redo your blood work. And when he went, because they're like, this can't be yours. Like, they must have made a mistake. And then he goes back in, he gets the blood work done. Nope. Okay, this is right. Like, you have uncontrolled diabetes. And we're like, what? How is that even possible? And I will be sharing a lot of different things that we've done since then. So please stay tuned. Like, some really amazing things. That's just a sidebar. But when Mike, we had talked to our functional medicine doctor, who I'm going to give him a shout out right now, Dr. Nandor, because he gave us some guidance that helped impact our lives, like, down the road for a very, like, and still to this day, that we're so grateful that we got to work with him. But he helped Mike kind of, start to change his blood sugar and just really guide him into some good steps. And so we were going to be at a resort, and Mike would, he developed this thing where he would look at this big, you think resort, you think buffet, like just food everywhere, right? And it was a really healthy resort where they had really good options as well. But naturally, they're going to have a big dessert section. And Mike was like, I'm not having any of that. And he would kind of, okay, not so Christian, so please don't be upset with me. But he would kind of stick his middle fingers up to the dessert areas and be like, you don't have a hold on me anymore. And he needed to do that until he was strong enough to him to naturally not have that desire or to want to go and have it. And I've watched him over the last 4 years just like develop this ability to just be like, I don't need that anymore. And that was over time. It took time, but that was a discipline that he developed because it was, first of all, necessary, because he was like, I'm not going down the route of needing to take meds every single day to heal this. I can control this. I can fix this. And that was a discipline that was developed over time, one step in front of the other. And so I hope that, I don't know if you needed to hear that message right now, but I pray that this at least reaches one person's heart and inspires you to not necessarily stick your middle finger up, but to be prepared to like make that change and just, one step at a time. Okay. So here are 8 practical ways to build discipline. 1, we're going to eat regular meals instead of skipping and trying to make up for it later. It doesn't work. Like, especially if you go back and we'll talk about like the nutrition and just trying to, get the right amount of calories in. I find that this habit of like, skipping meals, waiting till later and then ravaging later, like that just doesn't work well for a lot of people. So this is one way to build discipline. 2, we're going to move your body every day. And that could be mobility, walking, light movement. That is a non-negotiable that you're going to just move your body. I don't care if it's 10 minutes. Just get up and move your body for 10 minutes. Okay. 3, we're going to strength train at least twice a week. They could be short, but you're going to build the habit of strength training at least twice a week. Okay. 15 minutes. I don't care. It's got to be implemented in there. It's part of building that discipline. 4, we're going to keep your workouts simple so they're easy to repeat. You don't have to do brand new workouts every single day. You don't need to have, I see a lot of people really struggling with their results because they're needing to have these different workouts all the time. Like, it's not actually how science, like program science works or exercise science works. So just keep it simple. Trust me on that one. Okay. 5, we're going to aim for consistent bedtime when possible. Now, obviously, to the moms and dads that have the little ones that are not able to really follow through on that, you're going to do it the best that you can with what you're facing. I know, I walked through it. I remember how hard that was. But I'm also not going to stay up late looking at my phone or watching Netflix because my kids are in bed and I finally get me time. Like, I have to give myself consistent bedtime because I need to build my patterns around their patterns until my patterns shift and their shift. And you just work around it, working with it, like living with a shift worker. I understand how hard that is. So the best you can work with like your consistency, that's going to be super, super beneficial for you and your discipline. 6, when schedules change, you're going to adjust your routine instead of abandoning them. So most people lack, because remember, the motivation is fleeting and all that stuff. And we're building just discipline, and your schedule changes and all of a sudden you're not motivated anymore. You have to get rid of that mindset, and we're going to adjust your routine instead of just abandoning it. We have to find the thing that we can actually keep doing consistently long-term for that discipline to actually take place. Okay. 7, we're going to pay attention to your energy, your hunger, and your recovery. We need to make sure that we are paying attention to all of these things in order for us to build that discipline long term. It makes sense for us to just have, that long term, like if I'm really lacking in energy, it's going to really hinder my discipline long term. If I haven't paid attention to my hunger cues, I'm not going to stay disciplined with my nutrition plan. And if I haven't given myself enough rest, I'm not going to stay disciplined in that routine that I've really built in. And then your very last tip, my friends, 8, is to stay with the basics long enough for them to become familiar. So we have to do this thing long enough, and it's not an overnight process. I can tell you that firsthand from my own personal experience and from my experience of working with over 1,000 people at this point. It takes time. It takes time of doing the same old boring thing every single day for you to recognize that this is the thing that is familiar. And then eventually you will get to a place, like I said, that it's just something that you do. It's just like a non-negotiable, and you're going to stick with this long term. So quickly, to go back over these 8 ways to build the discipline. Eat regular meals, move your body, strength train, keep them simple, aim for consistent bedtime, be ready to adjust when schedules change, pay attention to your energy and your hunger and your recovery, and stay with the basics long enough for them to become familiar. Whoever is faithful in very little is also faithful in much. Luke 16:10. This verse applies to health the same way it applies to faith. Father, thank you for meeting us in ordinary life. Help us to be faithful in small things and care for the bodies that you've given us with wisdom and patience. Guide us as we take steady steps forward. In Jesus' name, amen. If this episode resonated with you, I would love to hear from you. Come on over to Instagram and send me a message, or you can email me directly at support@bakerfamilyfitness.com. Tell me what stood out, tell me where you feel stuck, or tell me what you're working on right now. You don't have to figure this out alone. And if you're looking for more structure and guidance, you can also find the Move Mountains method. It's a 5-day training it's actually so amazing. So I'm going to dive into a lot of this stuff on a deep level. So you can find it over at bakerfamilyfitness.com, and Move Mountains method. All right. See you next time. Thanks for tuning in to Strength for Generations. If this episode encouraged you, it would be a blessing if you took a quick minute to leave a 5-star review. It helps more families hear this message and find hope for their health and faith journey. You can also share this episode to your stories and tag us. God might use your post to encourage someone who really needs it today. And if you're ready for your next step, go to bakerfamilyfitness.com and join the 5-day Move Mountains method. It's a powerful journey to renew your health, strength, and mind. It includes daily video teachings and workbooks. You're going to discover your why. We're going to get into daily habits and movement. You're going to learn about food and fuel. We're going to learn about perseverance and consistency, and most importantly, legacy and generational health. If you feel stuck or unsure of where to start, this is for you. And don't forget to eat steaks, lift weights, love Jesus, and keep doing it His way.